As a preliminary matter, this is a public meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I am Howard Traster, the chairman. Please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. When I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Zoning Board members, Eric Spahn,
Here.
Mario Carnavelli.
Here.
Planning Board liaison, Larry Murphy.
He's not here yet?
Okay, town staff, Martha Taylor,
Here.
Kathy Brown,
I am here.
town council, Lisa Mead.
Present.
Okay, and anticipated speakers on the agenda, Doug DeShanes.
Yes, here.
Okay, good. Good evening. Today is Thursday, March 18th, 2021, and it's 7:30 p.m. and this is an open meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals, which is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the ZBA is convening by telephone conference, video conference via Zoom, as posted on the agenda of the Zoning Board of Appeals section of the town's website, identifying how the public may join. You may participate by going to https://us02web.zoom.us I-810-6571-6622 and entering meeting code ID 810-6571-6622, passcode 904006, or by calling 929-205-6099, entering meeting code 810-6571-6622, and if prompted, enter passcode 904006. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video and/or telephone conference. Application information has been provided to the ZBA members and materials will be presented during the meeting. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective, clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, Howard Traster, Chairman, will introduce each item on the agenda. As a participant, we ask that you keep the following in mind. Please mute when you are not speaking. For a telephone, *6 to toggle mute, unmute, or a computer, click off mute button. Please use earbuds, earphones when tablets or cell phones are used. Please speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. Please be aware that as video participants, you are attendees in a meeting. Participants can see you and care should be taken to eliminate interruptions while you are participating on your computer. Anything that you broadcast on your video will be captured by the recording. I will yield the floor to the applicant and/or their representative and will invite them to present their application or further information that was requested. If the applicant and/or their representative wish to share their screen, please request through the chairman so that you can be given permission to do so. The chairman will afford ZBA members the opportunity to speak and ask questions at any time. The chairman will afford participants the opportunity to speak and ask questions as follows. I will seek questions through the raised hand function. For video conference participants, this function can be accessed by clicking on the participants option listed in the menu below your photo gallery. Hover your cursor in this area if you don't see it. Window will open and display on the right. On the bottom of this participant area, you will see the list of phone video participants, and on the bottom, you will see the ability to click on a button to raise hand. Please ensure your name is displayed. You may rename by using the more function next to your name. List your name, address, then your question. Telephone participants can use their phone keypad while in a Zoom meeting to raise hand by hitting *9. I will seek to call upon questions from the public that have hit the raise hand button in the order in which they are listed. The system lists an order of whom first hit the raise hand function. Please identify your name and address and then your question or comment. Your hand will be lowered when you have been given the floor for your questions. We will continue down the list of those in the raised hand column. Should there be a physical or electronic submittal of questions or concerns that were received, they will be read for the record at this time. Additional agenda items will be called upon and handled in the same manner. Eric, can you read the agenda for tonight, please?
Yes, sir. Public hearings, Cricket Lane LLC, 55R Pearson Drive, continued hearing. The applicant is requesting a comprehensive permit under general law, chapter 40B, sections 20 to 23, to construct the village at Cricket Lane for 20 single-family detached home ownership units on Assessor's Map R20-0-75.
Okay, thank you. So we are going to discuss the revisions to the application for which the comprehensive permit for Cricket Lane was discussed at the last time. So town council has gone through the whole permit, and under the impression, Mr. DeShanes, that you were in agreement with her draft.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are.
Okay, so in that case, we'll open this meeting discussing the revisions, and between if there are any questions by any members of the zoning board. So Eric, have you had a chance to review everything to your satisfaction?
Mr. Chairman, I do have some questions as we flip through. Would you like me just to read my questions in entirety, or do you want to take this section by section, or?
Well, I guess go ahead and read them one at a time, and we'll discuss. If there's any discussion needed, we'll discuss them.
Okay, so under section 1, procedural history, item 2. It talks about this the limited dividend entity, and then it talks accordingly about jurisdictional requirements under the general laws to be satisfied when the applicant executes an agreement. And so with that, my question is there any review by the town of that entity that is created, which is the financial entity? That's question 1.
Okay, so town council, can you address that question?
Sure. So the town doesn't review that, but DHCD or MHP in this instance would review that. There was a time before about 8 or 9 years ago where the town had a right to review the regulatory agreement and accompanying documents and actually have comments and changes on them. However, the regulations changed, and now the town has the authority to see those documents, but not to change them. And so they have to show us those documents later on. We talk about that, but those are all approved by the state.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just want to clarify that and just have that understanding. The next question is section 2, project and property description. So under number 1, architectural plans, second to last, architectural plans entitled The Village at Cricket Lane by architect. So that consisted of nine pages. And I guess in terms of reading, a fair amount of questions talk about final drawings for everything, for architecture, for civil, for review. And so the question is, when are all final sets of drawings and documents? And would that be the permit set that would sum up what is the record document set?
So the permit set, so to speak, are these documents that are the last drafts which you approved. However, obviously that there are more refinements that have to have happen. And those all come prior to the issuance of the building permit. And so, for example, if you look into section 4, we talk about in paragraph 5, the final fully designed site plan shall be submitted to the boards and the board's designated engineer and the DPW director and the building commissioner no less than 45 days prior to the application for building permits. So there's that section, and then it goes on, paragraph 7, 8, 9, all deal with the final plans being reviewed by the board, your peer review engineer, the building inspector, the DPW director, the conservation agent, all to make sure that they're consistent with the permit set and then ready for construction.
So the ZBA will see a final site plans, as you title it, and we'll have a chance to review that before the building permit's issued.
That's correct.
Okay. I'll keep going. I have another question there, but I'll keep going in order. Under 3 findings, number 9, I believe this is the first. It says the board relies upon an order of resource area delineation issued by the Newbury Conservation Commission approving the boundaries of the bordering vegetated wetlands and isolated land subject to flooding, ISFL. I think after bordering vegetated wetlands should become parentheses and BVW should be added, because BVW is used in a fair amount of sections, but it's not defined.
That's fine. I'll add that there.
So anything, I had to go back and look for it, and so I just asked that clarification be put in there.
Okay, let me just pause you for a second, Eric.
Yep.
Mr. DeShanes, do you have any problem with that modification?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Eric.
All right, section 4, decisions and conditions, number 5. We were just discussing this, and Lisa read it, most of it. It seems as part of the construction, is there a CMP or construction management plan that outlines that is a required document of included in the final site plans?
Yes, hang on a second. Well, we call it a construction mitigation plan.
Okay,
It's in paragraph 8.
yes, okay. Management, mitigation. All right, so that's clear, and then anybody can understand what the following proposed schedule is. And then within this section as well, there are several reviews or checks or approvals of condominium documents, approvals of site plans, of project construction phasing within 3 years. There's timelines and boxes to be checked. So is there, or could we have a schedule produced that just outlines these so that we're understanding what the process is, and it's more in a checklist than a legal decision?
Sure, Mr. Swan, what I typically do and what the firm typically does, that is if a decision like this is approved, following the appeal period, if it's not appealed, we'll create exactly that, a checklist or a bullet document to be provided to the town, particularly of importance is the building inspector, building commissioner, because that's the last stopgap person. So that will be done for sure.
Okay. It's the summary of checks and balances then. I had additional questions of like prior to the issuance of occupancy permits, but that would appear on the list that you just mentioned. So
That's correct.
those questions are in there. I would note that under the last section, under part 4, number 40, that additional holidays were added in for no work time.
That's correct. In that same section, Mr. Vaughn, you'll notice that we also added that construction crews may not arrive nor work commence prior to the designated time.
And understanding that once the bridge and the barrier or bridge abutment are made in order to access the land in the easement, is there anything about no construction vehicles on Pearson Drive?
Hang on a minute, I'm not sure. Yeah.
It's number 40.
Yeah, I think that can be made clear. I think it says that they're not to deliver things prior to those times, but it doesn't say they can't park on Pearson Drive. So we can certainly add, it would be appropriate to be added to paragraph 40.
And then there was also that the petitioner shall install a stabilized construction entrance and entrance to the site from Pearson Drive to clean and wash vehicles leaving the site. And then the next item down, 41, there were some additions that snow should not be deposited on Pearson Drive at any time. And in the event that snow storage areas on site reach capacity, the snow will be removed and hauled away from the property. And then the last question is number 50, where the permit shall expire if construction is not commenced within 3 years. That's for the start and for the first part of construction, but is there anything in there for delays or phasing of the project, since this is a, build 4 at a time, and one of them
I believe I thought we went over this last time about the period. So the 3 years is a statutory time frame for commencement. I don't see it. I thought that we had discussed that at the last meeting. Mr. DeShane, what was the estimated time period for construction?
Let me let me reach out to my client, Mr. Erickson, who is the builder. He could probably give you a little more, but I certainly, we certainly expect to commence construction this year. Walter, do you have an idea of how long the complete project will take? I know it is driven by the market, obviously, but based on your experience in your other 5 projects, what do you expect?
It will be market driven, but we expect to have it 100% completed in no more than 3 years.
I found that. Thank you very much. We did have this conversation last time. It's paragraph 9, Mr. Savon, on page 7 under section 4 decisions. The essential infrastructure for the entire project shall be completed within 3 years from the date of construction is commenced.
So what's, and in that section number 9 and in the section 50 that we were talking about previously, it says the applicant may apply to the board for extensions of the comprehensive permit in according with 760 CMR 56.5. So what, what are the checks and balances to keep this from dragging out, or for I'm sure that every builder wants to build and be done as soon as possible, and understand that this is market driven, but the town doesn't want to end up with a half completed project, and wants to understand what that means, or
So
how to guard against that.
Sure, I'm gonna address those two in 2 different ways. The provision in paragraph 50 is the regulatory provision that basically, that's the lapse provision, which you might find in a special permit or a variance, but for comprehensive permits, it's 3 years. So don't do anything for 3 years. The permit would lapse unless they came in and got it extended. So that's commencement. Paragraph 9 is completion of infrastructure within 3 years, and allows them to come in for good cause shown to seek a reasonable extension of 1 year.
Is there the understanding that the completion of the infrastructure is the entire infrastructure as shown on the drawings, even if not all the houses are built at that time?
Well, the infrastructure would be the common nomenclature for infrastructure, which are the roads, the water, the electric, the sewer, everything to service the residences.
Okay. Thank you. I have no more comments to the draft.
Okay, Mario, do you have any comments or questions about the draft?
The only question I had was, I thought in the public discussion last month, it was requested that deliveries would be made after the school bus. I didn't know what time that was. Was that 7 or 7:25? I thought that may have been a good idea, just to keep traffic off Pearson Road and the children while all these deliveries were being made.
So I think that goes back to,
40, number 40.
yeah.
It says 7.
Yeah, I'm fine to, well, then we have, so if you continue on down there, we say basically except the larger vehicles, which is 8. Provided, however, to access by the site by excavators, skidders, bulldozers, or other heavy equipment, tractor trailers, flatbeds, or any other oversized trucks and or construction vehicles hauling earth, moving equipment, trusses, modular wall panels, and other building materials that require either wide load vehicles and or are scheduled to be delivered within or by a convoy may occur between 8 and 6. So I don't know if you want to make that broader about what the deliveries are.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of things that could be delivered, are excluded between 8 o'clock and 7 o'clock. I don't know how you want to word that, but it's just, oversized trucks or construction convoys. It makes it just these huge vehicles only.
Yeah, so I guess I'm asking for direction. Do you want all deliveries to be made between 8 and 6 regardless? Or is there some delineation?
I think there's some delineation. I think nothing before 7:30, and then these large ones at 8 o'clock.
Okay. So I'll amend that to say, no construction made, deliveries may be made after 7:30
Yep.
until 6 PM and then continue on.
This way there just won't be any traffic as the kids are waiting for the bus.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I missed that last time.
That's it.
Okay, Mr. DeShanes, is all the modifications seem to be acceptable to you?
Mr. Chairman, I'm just verifying that with my client.
Okay, we can wait a minute.
Yes, we're fine with that.
Okay. Very good. So Eric, first is there anything else you feel that you need to discuss at this point?
The only thing I could think of is that through this whole process, now that we have this decision that I don't know if we have, do we have the planning board's review? Do we have the Board of Selectmen's review? Do we have final review? Is there anything, I mean, in the terms and conditions here that would warrant anybody else's, as we're the special permit entity, but we're acting on behalf of all of the boards? Do we need to do anything else? And since this is a little bit uncharted, I asked the question.
Okay, town council?
Sure. So for good or for bad, Mr. Zavon, it's all on the zoning board of appeals. But for the conservation issues, you're supported in these reviews by your conservation peer review person, as well as your engineering peer review person and town staff. But there are no reviews within this document or allowed by statute by any other board or commission.
Okay, anything
Thank you
else?
for clarifying.
Anything else from you, Mario, at this point?
No, I'm all set. Thanks.
Okay. And I'd like to have a motion to close the public portion of the meeting to discuss the draft decision.
Someone second you, Howard?
Yes. Yes, Kathy.
Who did? I was writing fiercely.
Okay.
Was that Eric or Mario?
I asked Eric.
Okay, thank you.
I asked for a motion. I didn't
And no
ask.
one yet?
Nobody's responded.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just, going over one more time, and I think per the questions I asked and per the schedule, the checks and balances would be listed here.
Okay, I'm not trying to hurry, Eric, if, there's something else.
No, I was just thinking of, our review, making sure it's thorough, making sure it's all here, and I think we do have it. There are obviously documents that need to be finalized and submitted, and a final review and checks along the way in terms of control. So that's all I can think of.
Okay. So can we have a motion to close the public portion and discuss this?
Yeah, if we, are you closing the public portion for this part of the hearing, or closing the public portion for good?
Well, I think for good, unless, unless we can't vote on closing it.
if all final edits are in and are to be made, is there any reason town council to keep the meeting open until we see the final draft?
Okay,
No, not if, not, through you, Mr. Chair, not if the board is not accepting any more public information or information from the developer. It would be it would be considered a deliberation.
okay. So if we close to the public portion, can we ask your legal opinion?
Yes.
So,
So that's the question, Mr. Chairman. Do you want to close it? Do you want to hear any more public opinion before we close the discussion?
well, personally, I think we've probably heard about everything that conceivably could be questioned or commented on. You know, if you think we need more public opinion, we can open it up for that before we do close the public portion. Long as it's new information or different points of view.
Well, I think if town council could just read one more time for the record, the 3 items of which a permit or an application would be found to be unsustainable, we can proceed from there.
Okay,
The standard for being able to deny a comprehensive permit should a town not have met its affordable housing needs by the state standard, that is 10%, is that you would need to find that the proposal removes critically needed open space, imperils public safety, or endangers the environment.
Okay. Chairman, I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
okay, do we have a second?
Second,
All in favor, Eric,
Yes.
Mario,
yes.
and I vote yes. So the public portion is closed, and we will discuss what we have in front of us. I think that town council has covered all the legal aspects, many more things than I ever could have thought of to bring up. I think we've had a lot of public input. I think a lot of input from zoning board members. And I really do have empathy for the neighborhood concerns. However, because the town has not met the state's requirements for the 10% affordable housing, we have to consider that the local concerns, which there are many, do not outweigh the state's requirements for the affordable housing. And I think, we've had peer reviews for traffic engineering and environmental, and hopefully they've covered all the bases. I don't know what more input we can get. And we do need to make a decision sometime.
Understood. That was a good summary, Mr. Chairman. And I think in terms of denying if the permit was to be denied, removal of critical open space, the town of Newbury is blessed with a fair amount of open space, and that is something that I think that the town residents do take to heart and do dearly value. And there is limited space for new development in town. And so the loss of it is a loss, but it's not, I don't think it could be deemed as being detrimental to the whole. Public safety, the concern comes down to traffic. We do have streets. It is a cul-de-sac. There was a traffic study. I think the closeness of the houses and the closeness to the existing wildlife refuge were discussed and weighed in. And since that was discussed in the previous application and we did not receive additional pushback or information from the wildlife refuge this time, that public safety concern was deemed by them not to be an issue. And the environmental issues, that it was copiously reviewed by professional engineers, and that the state requirements are something that are not, there are no waivers for any state DEP requirements in terms of engineering or site management.
Okay.
So with that understanding, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to accept the decision for the application for the comprehensive permit.
Just before you do, Eric, let Mario weigh in on this.
I agree with everything that's been said, and for me, it is unfortunate that the statutory requirements for affordable housing supersedes local concerns, because I do agree with the local concerns. So I just wanted to make that allowed.
I agree with you, Mario. So go ahead, Eric.
Okay, so with that, and with the understanding of the process, the criteria for which the permit is judged against, I would make a motion for the decision for the application to grant the comprehensive permit for Cricket Lane for the decision as drafted and as currently proposed to be amended.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Eric,
Yes.
Mario,
Yes.
and I vote yes also. Motion passes. Okay, we'll open up the meeting again, and let me ask town council, where do we go from here?
So, Mr. Chair, I know the board has a process for executing and approving the final document. We do have a limitation on when the document can be finalized. And so I would ask the board, its pleasure here, if you want me to finalize this document and then you come in and sign it, or do you want it finalized and signed at your next meeting, in which case we would need an agreement by the applicant to allow that extension in either event.
Eric, what's your pleasure?
I'm available at the convenience of town council to facilitate this. I think if it's drafted and sent out digitally and we can read it, then I could make myself available to come in and sign it, or we could do the current process, which we're still kind of working out, is in terms of signing an original copy and then sending it around.
So perhaps, Mr. DeShanes, you could give the board until April 2nd, that's 2 weeks, to finalize and have the decision filed with the town clerk. Would that work for the board members?
Would for me.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, town council, we would be willing to agree to that term. Thank you. The 2 weeks.
Is that
Okay.
good for you, Mr. Zavon?
Yes, I have better availability on a Thursday or a Friday to sign.
Okay, so you'll get in contact with us a few days ahead of time, or you're going to send us, first you're going to send us a finalized copy of the decision, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and then after we've reviewed that, we'll decide on when and how we're going to sign.
Yes, Kathy and or Martha can help arrange that.
Right, okay, very good. So I guess we're all done with this portion of the meeting. And we'll move on to the last part of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'd just like to thank you and the board and town council and staff for all your time and energy on this project. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Me as well, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So,
Next item, other business. Other business, discussion of decision for 37 16th T Street. Eric Salmian.
okay, so we all received copies of the updated application and site plan. Eric, did you find that it was what we were expecting?
I got a little confused with the number of emails and file naming, and I think I unfortunately made issues for myself in trying to figure out what was what. I just was a little busy, and
Sorry.
I've gotten it straightened out, and that was my email to Kathy this morning, just about a naming convention that would help keep files stacked in
And
order.
I am adopting that exact thing. Thank you.
Yes, well, appreciate your willingness, and if you have any suggestions to help that out, because I was just I had all the emails, I saved them, and then I got confused. So I don't know if I have any issues, and I probably need a moment to do that. And if they're in order, then we would follow the standard procedure where if it was in order, I would sign and then send it. I think in this case, I would send an email back to Kathy, and Kathy can deliver it to the board if either that have signed and I'm moving it forward, or I have issues and there would need to be some further discussion. And since we're a 3-person board, I don't know how else we could proceed.
Right. Okay. Well, if you need more time to review it, that's how we'll handle it.
Okay.
I did correct the spelling mistakes,
Okay.
people's names.
Yeah, and and again, it was just receiving the updated material and trying to organize it so that I had the latest. And that is something that we've been challenged with, being these Zoom meetings, is that we're not all together looking at the same plan, or at least marking it up with a singular understanding. And I'd like to try to figure out if there's a better process for doing digital, or even if we should be requesting all digital, because getting some digital and some paper will also be confusing. If we continue with the Zoom meetings, Mr. Chairman, and Kathy, then it would be helpful if everything was digital, because then we could share everything digital on the screen that we were talking about, right?
I have no problem sending digital to you and Mario if that's what you want. And Howard, I can still send you paper copy if that's what you want, and I can make that a process.
Well,
Because
you can send me the same thing that you send Mario and
Okay.
Eric, but I would like to see the paper also.
I can do that.
Yeah.
I believe I got the plot scanner so I can scan the big plans as well, Eric, but I will send those to you directly in paper.
okay, so Kathy, the one rule is if the drawing does not have a scale or a dimension on it, then I can't use it. But if it
Okay.
has a dimension or it has a bar scale on it, then digitally I can recalibrate and make the measurements.
Okay.
Then it would be helpful, because then I could share my screen and share the application and the comments and the measurements right on the screen.
Okay.
Okay. Hopefully, before too long, we can meet in person. That would solve a lot of the problems.
That would, but I think the digital copy at least would facilitate mine being able to make measurements fairly quickly. And then also, when I make them on the fly, they're a little rough. If I make them in the computer, then they're more organized for the record, and easier for people to understand.
Understood. Okay, so we will bring this up at the next meeting again.
Unless everything that was sent was exactly as we had requested,
It
and
was,
I can sign the decision letter and move it forward.
Right, okay,
the actual motion that you made for the decision is very close to verbatim when you made the motion, if
Yep.
that helps with all of the conditions in it.
It does, and also just to note that the decision, the format's slightly different between Susan and Kathy, so I'm just double checking what
Well,
we've said.
I used an old decision that she gave me as a template,
Yep,
and I tried to work in what was said during the meeting on the 18th and try to fit it in, paraphrase it, and trim it down so it wasn't 7 pages long.
Yep.
And that's the best I could do with no real guidance.
yeah, and I think it's all good, and it's just a chance that as moving from you to Susan, that we just confirm what the format is between us so that we're in agreement going forward.
Absolutely.
So that's all I had on the 37th, 16th T Street.
Okay.
And then we have meeting minutes for discussion.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, might I make a comment?
yes,
As you might recall, I represented the Salmonins on this process. I believe it has been a number of weeks, if not in excess of a month, since the board voted on this. And, my client is awaiting a decision to be recorded so that he can move forward with this project. And I just, the thought of pushing this out another month is obviously very distressing to them. Is there a reason why the board cannot issue the decision as drafted? Is there an issue?
the issue is that Eric can explain it better than I can, but there was some confusion with the
Mr. Duchesne, it's
Email.
just we're going through a transition of assistance here, and just in terms of email, and it's really it's on me that, it comes to me first. I look for it, I edit. If there's issues, then it goes back, but it's my scheduling and my issue of not getting to it. That's all I can say.
So we will try to do it, have it done before the next scheduled meeting.
Will
I don't think it'll be a month, Mr. Duchesne.
Well, that would be fine, Mr. Chairman, but with all due respect, I do know, and I apologize for not doing it, but I do believe there is a statutory time frame for the issuance of decisions. Perhaps town council can remind us. I didn't do the math, but I know it's been a while.
Okay.
Yeah, and we understand.
You weigh in on that?
Sure, Mr. Chair, if this is a special permit, which I believe it is, the board has 90 days from the date of the close of the public hearing to issue the decision.
Thank you, council.
Thank you, Lisa.
So I'm sure Eric will do it as fast as he can.
Thank you. That's appreciated. Thank you very much.
And I will turn those edits around as quickly as I can and get them back to the board as soon as I can. Lisa, do you need to see that?
No, I don't typically review the
Okay.
board's decisions, right?
Just asking.
Yep.
Thank you.
Only the ones that we request to be support or drafted.
Correct.
All right, so we can move on to the minutes.
Meeting minutes for discussion and approval. So the meeting minutes for Thursday, May 14th. The meeting minutes, the public hearings were 16 Plum Island Boulevard, 1 Plum Bush Downs, 80 Northern Boulevard, 4 4th Street, and 55R Pearson Drive. So these were submitted by Susan. I've read them and would make a motion, if there's no discussion, to accept them as written.
Okay, do we have a
Motion second.
Okay, all in favor, Eric,
Yes.
Mario,
Yes.
and I vote yes also. So the motion passes. Okay, so if there's nothing else, is there any other new business that anybody wants to bring up that we haven't discussed?
Thing here.
Okay, so our next meeting will be when, Kathy? The third?
That will be April 15th,
Okay,
7:30 via Zoom.
all right. Very good. Then can I have a motion to close the meeting, please? For
To
adjournment.
close.
Okay,
Second.
All in favor, Eric,
Aye.
Mario,
Yes,
and I vote yes also. The meeting is adjourned.
thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
you.
everyone.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye now.
Good night.